For more on this amazing events that have transpired over the last several days, I want to bring in Shark Tank judge Kevin O'Leary, who is the chairman of O'Leary Ventures and is here to join us. What are you hoping to hear from President Biden?
Well, I think I know what he's going to say. I don't think he'll say it in the way I'm suggesting, but what effectively happened over the weekend is that he nationalized the American banking system. It's no longer a risk. It's no longer private in any sense. It is now backstopped by the government, ultimately the taxpayer. So it doesn't matter how bad you are as a bank manager, and a good example is what happened at Silicon Valley Bank. That was a combination of a negligent board of directors and idiot management. That's a very powerful cocktail when put together, and it completely wiped out that bank. And that's what should have happened. And we knew before the weekend started that every account with $250,000 or less was insured, and anything beyond that, which is generally business accounts or sophisticated investors, was not. But that's all changed. Now you have no risk in any bank anytime, and you as the taxpayer bear that going forward.
When we spoke on Friday, I said, how big a deal is this, Kevin? And we were texting, you said, next week the real trouble starts when they can't make payroll. Now it looks like they will be making payroll, I would imagine. So what do you think? Do you think that maybe the pressure is off now, that things are going to go back to normal, or is there still more fallout here?
No, they'll never go back to normal. Two things are going to happen. This quick move, this policy decision, was to try and stop a run on small banks, mid-sized banks. I don't think long-term that's going to work, because why would you take even 1% of risk keeping your money, or at least all of it, in a small regional bank? You're going to diversify. And I think that's the first lesson that wasn't being adhered to, is when you have liquid assets, you want to make sure it's diversified. And the rule we've put in place for our portfolio companies is no more than 20% in any one financial institution, because you never know where the black swan is swimming. In other words, every single institution has an idiot manager. Big ones, small ones, that's been proven by history. You just don't know where they are. And that's the same for every sector of the economy. But the banking system's different. We have 11 sectors in our economy. The banking system, financial services, is one of them, but it services all other 10. So what's really happening when the president steps out in a few moments is he's basically saying, look, I can't take this risk anymore. I'm just going to nationalize the whole thing. And that's the way we should look at banking going forward. Nothing more than highly regulated utilities. And that has profound impacts for you as an investor. If you thought putting your money into bank stocks was a good idea, you should change your mind this morning forever. And should you own bank bonds? Never. You were taught that lesson over the weekend. If you owned equity in Silicon Valley Bank, it's worthless. If you own the bonds, it's
Kevin,
worthless.
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, Kevin. I do want to push back on that, because you've got to differentiate between the small and medium-sized banks that were given more lax requirements in that 2018 legislation and the big guys, because the big guys closed up on Friday, and there's a flight to safety to JP Morgan, to Citigroup, et cetera.
That doesn't mean they're, you should not assume that just because they're big, they can't fail. Managers make mistakes all the time.
No, but they are held
it's
to
your
higher,
behavior.
But they are held to stress test requirements, higher capital and liquidity requirements because of Dodd-Frank. That didn't get diminished for those big ones.
And you should assume that stage is going to be lifted even higher on them, so they're going to be even more regulated as they become more concentrated and far less profitable. That's my point. This really does make you think about owning bank stocks long term. I think they'll be underperforming the index for decades to come. That's my personal opinion. But it's the behavior of you as an investor in the actual accounts. If you're a business, you can't put it all in one financial institution. Certainly everybody learned that lesson over the weekend. So diversification is going to matter. But this has fundamentally changed the way you should look at banking, because I'm not really comfortable that all of a sudden we've de-risked everybody all of the time. It was a good idea to de-risk $250,000 and make more sophisticated investors think about their behavior and how they should put their capital to work, get diversity. You don't have to do that anymore, according to what the president's going to say. You have zero risk, and that has consequences. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and this is going to be very expensive for shareholders of banks long term.
All right.
I would never put my money into a bank stock ever again.
Oh, Kevin O'Leary. Kevin, always appreciate your perspective.